Hello and welcome back to the channel of Two-Wheeled Nonsense. Now, if you've got your finger on the pulse of motorcycle news, not that one, just news in general, you'll know that this is now the old Yamaha MT-09 SP. It's just been replaced with one with new styling, a new seating position, Brembo brakes, and a host of other tweaks. But I've seen some good deals on this previous generation MT-09 SP. So in today's video, I'm just going to find out if the new one has suddenly made the old one worse. And given that the new one isn't out for a few months, probably not, but let's go and have some fun anyway. Now, it's only about 6 degrees above freezing, so let's quickly whip around the old MT-09. This originally cost £11,310, but now I've seen deals knocking a fair bit off that. It was a bit controversial. It only came out in 2021, but I remember it because it brought out this rather controversial Cyclops new look with these daytime running lights going down like daggers pointing at the front wheel, where you will find non-branded brakes with a radial master cylinder, but actually they're pretty decent. We'll get onto that in the riding bit. It's got a one-piece seat. The new version of this for 2024 has got a two-piece seat, and it's got slightly lower bars as well compared to this. Now, obviously there's a non-SP version, but the SP version looks lovely with the blue wheels, the anodized aluminium swing arm, and it just, I don't know, looks like a mini MT-10, doesn't it? Like my bike. I think it's quite an attractive thing, at least from this angle. Now, in terms of the important SP bits, on this you get adjustable KYB forks there, and you've got an Erlin shock round here with a remote preload adjuster there. So it's pretty blinging. The heart of it is standard MT-09 though. You've got Yamaha's 890cc CP3 engine, which increased from I think 849cc in this generation to meet Euro 5 emissions, while still putting out 119 horsepower at 10,000 RPM and 93 Newton meters at 7,000 RPM. Now, the whole shebang weighs 190 kilos fully fueled, which is a kilo heavier than the non-SP version. It's got a 6-axis IMU for lean sensitive traction control, ABS and all that stuff, and it's got a small 3.5 inch dash there. So it's quite a nice naked recipe, but you have got things like cruise control fitted as standard there. But anyway, as I said, it's cold. I'm going to try and get some heat in the tyres, head out on the roads and find out if this old MT-09 is any fun. And oh yeah, it's got the perennial Yamaha problem. Whenever you put a cover on one of their bikes, as I sometimes do, you get a floppy indicator syndrome. It's happened to my MT-10, the Tracer 9, and now this. So yes, Yamaha, you need to come up with some kind of Viagra solution for your indicators.
It is chilly, let's hop on. I've got my Furigood Heat Genesis battery warmed gloves on, and they're doing a marvellous job of avoiding frostbite, so I don't join the queues at the hospital. But anyway, let's go and have some fun on the MT-09 SP, which I think I've just put in a ditch. Yes, I have. Just put it in a ditch behind me. That's a great start. The first thing I really love about the MT-09 is the riding position. It's so comfortable, it's so easy. And admittedly, you do feel like you're sitting a little bit more on it than in it, certainly compared to my MT-10. That's more of an in-it bike. This feels like you're kind of hyper motard style on top of it, and I think that's going to be the big difference between this and the new one that's coming out. That's got lower handlebars, put more weight over the front. It's got a two-piece seat, so I think it's going to feel a bit more like a sports bike. But this, I really like it for a bit of a hooligan for everyday activities. This is a lovely position. But then you hear the engine, and it fires up with quite a loud burble, considering this is Euro 5 and everything compliant already. This bike is pretty noisy. I quite like it. Apparently the catalytic converter on this has a million billion parts to it, and it weighs loads, but you don't really notice it when you accelerate. This cross-plane triple is it is one of the best engines you can buy. I keep saying that about every Yamaha, but it's just true. It's got so much more instant shove than the Triumph 765 triple. It just, it feels like a bigger engine because it's got another 120 odd cc. On the Triumph, it is a lovely thing. It makes the right noise. It's just flexible. You stick it in 6th gear and it goes not like a litre bike, but it goes like a big old middleweight. It's got proper pull. Whatever your revs, and I've ridden it in the Tracer 9 GT Plus a couple of months ago when it was not making snowmen out of my testicle weather, and I really liked it there. But in this, It's a little naughty package. You can get your elbows out over the front, and oh, someone's got their Ferrari out, and then just kind of go a bit bananas. And we'll get onto a twisty road in a second. But yeah, let's talk about the real world usability of the MT-09. I've said it's comfortable riding position. The seat's actually pretty comfy on this too. It's way comfier than the one on my own MT-10 SP. The suspension on this, the standard setting I've got it at the moment, it's not too firm either. You certainly get a lot of feedback. You feel all the bumps and cracks in the road. It hasn't got the plushness of my MT-10 SP in its softest electronic suspension setting, but this hasn't got electronic suspension. Again, just feels well dialed in for what I want to do with it, which is kind of cruise around, do a bit of fast riding when you can on the British B road. It might fall apart on track, and I'm not sure if it will go stiff enough, but someone out there would have done a YouTube video about an MT-09 on track, so go and watch that instead of me trying not to fall off into an icy lake. Yeah, this is a little willing companion for naughtiness, and if you like your wheelies and things, this will oblige, apparently. Yeah, off the gas in second gear, over crests, even in third actually. It's got the mojo for it, or you can clutch it up, and yeah, it just feels really natural and nice, being a bit of a dick, frankly, if you want to ride it like that. Desperately trying to get some heat into these Bridgestone S22s. They're good tyres, but they do take a little while to warm up, and currently I've got an air temperature reading of 6 degrees, and some of these roads are going to be damp, so this isn't going to be a balls to the wall ride, because I don't really fancy visiting hospital, and there's mud on the road. But listen to that. Oh, it's pretty ballistic, I have to say. The performance of this engine in this bike is rapid, properly rapid, and you know, my MT-10 is faster, but this isn't a million miles behind. It doesn't feel like a slightly orthopedic cousin that you don't want to visit. It feels like it's got the same rebellious DNA. I like it. Brakes are usually a Yamaha weak point, and I have to say, the standard brakes on this MT-09 have actually got loads of bite. They actually feel really quite strong and really good. I've not really got any criticisms of them, which is again unlike the MT-10, where you do slightly bigger speeds into corners and wish you had slightly bigger brakes. The brakes on this feel sharper. Someone's going to tell me they're the exact same caliper as on the MT-10, but they certainly feel much nicer, and the chassis gives you a nice amount of feedback as well in the corners. It's not giving you loads from the front because you haven't got that much weight over the front end, but again, at road speeds, if you're a semi-experienced rider, it gives you plenty to be getting on with. It's not like, say, a next bike up, an Aprilia Tuono or something, which is based on a super sports bike, and that's got loads of front end feel. This gives you enough, and that's kind of really what I like about this bike. It feels designed for the road. It feels just willing, it feels fun, it feels hooligan-y. It does everything very well. I don't really have that many criticisms other than the aforementioned slightly fully offy indicator. I even quite like Yamaha's switchgear. I've got used to it. It's big, it's a bit clunky, but on a day like today when I'm wearing winter gloves, that's actually a bit of a godsend. What a lovely Aston Martin. I had one of those on Test Drive Unlimited on the Xbox 360. Right, riding modes, you've got a couple. You basically can switch between D mode 1 and D mode 2. So you do that using a combination of the left hand switch gear, and you can change your traction control settings on the fly. So D mode 1, it's a more aggressive throttle response. D mode 2, slightly less aggressive. I've left it in D mode 1, but you kind of do need to be on your game in D mode 1, because yeah, it can run away from you a bit, give it a bit more than you think when you open the fun tube. Can't believe I just called it that. If I have one real question about the MT-09, is why it's being replaced so quickly. It's been 2, maybe 3 years since this version came out, and part of me thinks that it hasn't sold quite as well as they expected because of the styling. That Cyclops look, it looks quite divisive, quite controversial. I don't mind it, but I can't see it when I'm having all the fun riding it. And the new version has gone back a bit closer to that first gen MT-09 look, with those slim daytime running lights. It looks a bit more traditional. and they've kind of moved the whole kind of chassis of that bike, while the seat and the riding position a bit sportier. And part of me wonders if that's because we've got an R9 coming and they wanted to have some crossover of parts. I don't know. This is just conjecture and a bald man shitting on while trying not to freeze on a motorbike, but I reckon that might be what's coming. I have actually no insider info on this. I am just yakking on, but yeah, very impressed with this MT-09. It feels, well, it feels a lot closer to the MT-10 than the MT-07. The MT-07's fun, but it feels a little bit cheap in places, and it's not really got the same aggression as this, I don't think. And this isn't quite as grown up as the MT-10. If you're going to pick an MT for doing longer distances, I'd pick the MT-10. It's got a slightly more relaxed engine when you want it to be. It can go absolutely batshit, obviously, but it just munches miles a bit better than this. The riding position, you're a bit more in that bike than on it, as I've said. And this one is your Sunday morning proper nuts. I would say without breaking the law. You'll be breaking the law in most gears on this bike when you rev it out, but it's a little bit more civilized in terms of speeding performance than the MT-10, which just goes to 100 miles an hour in lots of the gears. So yeah, that's kind of how I think about this bike. It is the precocious upstart that's still very, very fast. And I see lots of MT-09 owners that upgrade to an MT-10 and they miss some of the fun of this bike. And I think Lamb Chops did a video on this bike, probably this exact bike, a couple of months ago, and he reckoned it was more fun than the MT-10. I have to say, it depends. I think they're both very fun bikes. This one has a bit more encouragement to go rev it out on the road, whereas you do it on the MT-10 to hear the great cross-plane 4 noise, you're doing illegal speeds very, very quickly. So yeah, I still have my fun on the MT-10, but if you like more road legal fun, this might be the one to pick. Now, if I was going to tour on this bike, I perhaps would try fitting a screen to it. I like naked wind blast, but this is directing wind straight at my neck, so it is quite noisy. But then also one of my earplugs has fallen out, so don't take that as conclusive evidence that this is a noisy bike at motorway speeds, more so than any other naked. I don't really have the confidence to lean it that hard when it's this cold. Anyway, slightly shorter video than usual because the weather and everything else, but thank you for watching. If you've got any questions about the MT-09 or the MT-10, drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. But in short, I bought the right bike for me, the MT-10. I kind of want to do a bit of touring on it, and that bike is going to reappear on the channel in a slightly more touring-y guise very soon. I've not seen the bike, but it looks quite different now. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you want to see more Yamaha MT-10 content. And also, I've got the big Christmas road trip to France on an M1000R coming up as well. So yeah, stay tuned, stick around, or don't stick around, go and wash the pots and pans or clean the fluff out of your foreskin, whatever you need to do, inspect it well, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Can you tell it's been a while since I've done this? I've not ridden for 6 weeks and I've gone a bit mad.